Hey, this is Jill Simonello, and this week's car du jour is the 2023 Toyota Prius. Now, this has a completely new design. It has an updated, upgraded powertrain and some pretty interesting fuel economy numbers. So what I'm going to do in this video is we're going to just do a quick walk around. I'm going to tell you what my driving impressions are, and we're going to talk about that fuel economy and what that means versus the previous generation. So let's take a closer look right now. Okay, first up, we are going to talk about the powertrain because other than the design, this is probably the biggest change you're going to see in the Toyota Prius. So this has a new 2.0 liter gas engine mated to an upgraded, updated, revised hybrid powertrain. And get this, there's a 60% increase in horsepower. So you're looking at between 194 and 196 horsepower, depending on if you have all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. And that is up from 121 horsepower. And I will tell you, and I'll get into this a little bit more with my driving impressions, you can definitely tell the difference. And this is a lot nicer. Now, what's really interesting is the fact that they've managed to do all of this power stuff while maintaining and in fact increasing your fuel economy. So the number that Toyota has been throwing around is 57 miles per gallon, and that's a really nice number, but I'm going to tell you right now, that is only the base LE model with 17-inch wheels. So as soon as you get the bigger wheels, because there's 19s pretty much on every other model, your fuel economy is going to go down, but not by that much. So with the all-wheel drive, top-tier trim, XLE, and Limited, you're looking at 49 miles per gallon. But really, if you're going to go more in mid-level or LE all-wheel drive, you're probably going to see between 52 and 54 miles per gallon, which, by the way, is still really awesome. So more power, better fuel economy, and yeah, this drives really nice. Now that we are done looking at the powertrain, I just want to do a quick exterior walk around of the 2023 Toyota Prius before we get into driving impressions. So I'm just going to start with the exterior. And the first thing I want to point out is this is the top tier limited trim all-wheel drive. So this is going to be the most expensive vehicle that you are going to encounter in the Prius lineup. You have these gorgeous 19-inch wheels, and then, you know, obviously as you walk around to the back, you will notice that you have the limited badging, and again, this is all-wheel drive, even though it doesn't say that it's all-wheel drive. So from the side of the vehicle, this is probably, I mean, certainly a recognizable-ish hybrid shape, but it just looks a lot more sleek and it has some nice curvier lines. It doesn't look as weird. I want to say that. It doesn't look as weird as the older generation. And the biggest thing that is gone is going to be that weird split window. So now instead you just have this single glass here, but because of the slope of the roofline, I will say your visibility is hindered just a little bit because that window is very, very narrow. Moving around to the front, you have some new design language going on because of these headlights. This is a very aggressive headlight signature, and it's new for Toyota. We saw this also on the Toyota BZ concept at the LA Auto Show. So this is going to be a new signature, and I anticipate we'll start seeing this on more vehicles moving forward. And the other thing that is new here, look at the grille. This is not the weird wide mouth fish face grille of yore. It's a little bit more subtle, definitely a lot more attractive, and the word we keep using describing this new Prius, it's kind of weird to say it, but it looks a little bit sexy. I don't know, I think it looks sexy. Do you think it looks sexy? Feel free to comment below. But yeah, so that's the exterior. Something else I will point out, oh, there's your all-wheel drive badging. So something else I will point out as you walk around the vehicle, Toyota was having fun with Easter eggs. That seems to be the thing to do right now. And one of the Easter eggs is going to be right here. You can't even really see it very well, but it's embossed into this wheel well, and it says Prius. So we heard a rumor that there are 23 Easter eggs throughout the vehicle. I feel like I've probably found like 5 of them because there's one right here where it says Prius. And you move around to the front. I think this is going to be an Easter egg, but I don't know. You have a little bit of a design here. It's not identical on the other side, which is what makes me think it's an Easter egg. And You know, when you move inside, you have a few more items that we found, including right here where it says Prius. When you lift up the hood, you can see some Prius badging there, and there is also some Prius badging when you lift up the cargo area. You can see Hybrid Reborn right here. So clearly I have not found all of these Easter eggs. So I dare you, if you have the opportunity to check out this vehicle, tell me where the Easter eggs are. Moving to the interior of the vehicle, I have to say I've been getting a lot of questions about this right here. The gauge cluster that is behind / on top of the steering wheel. So for somebody who's of a petite driving position, I had no problems. I moved the steering wheel down a little bit and my seat is pumped in the all the way high position, and this to me is perfectly visible. It looks really good, and I actually like the position because that means I don't have to move my eyes too far from the road to look at how fast I'm going or at any of the other information on the cluster. However, I've heard that people are taller, have the steering wheel up, and they sit a little bit lower, and that is really, really hard to see. Because this is the top tier limited trim, this does have the 12.3-inch available screen with the new Toyota infotainment system that allows you to do voice commands and pair your phone wirelessly for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You have a wireless charger right here, and while I like the fact that you have little prongy things that are going to hold your phone in so it's actually going to charge it, I found out during the drive today that putting my phone in here really overheats it, and I don't like that. So far, the only automaker I found that does this well is General Motors, because they have like a cool pad or something in there and your phone doesn't overheat. The general design of the interior is horizontal and minimalistic. So you do have this little light bar here that will flicker and flash like in certain instances. So if you're sitting at a light and the person in front of you moves, this kind of flashes a little bit and it's like, hey, dude, you gotta move. So not an audible, but a visual, and I don't know, it's kind of nice. I also just like the way the light looks. The seats have been redesigned and recontoured to be a little bit more defatiguing, and I would say that's true. I like how the seats feel. The seat bottom isn't too big for me. I had really good support. But again, I have to wonder how somebody who's taller would feel, because that does seem a little bit short for somebody who might be 6 foot or taller. Again, because this is a limited trim, you do have heated and cooled seats, but you don't have dual automatic climate controls, and that's a little bit peculiar for a vehicle of this class. You also only have USB-C charge ports. So if you are somebody who only has a USB-A cord, you better make your conversion, or you're going to have to buy like a little USB adapter to handle that. Moving into the back seat, okay, this is my driving position, so yeah, you have a lot of leg room here, but this is probably a more normal position that you would find somebody is sitting in here, and you do have a little bit of leg room, but your foot room is going to be a little bit cramped if this person is in the far back position. What else have we got going on back here? We have heated seats, and we have, oh, look at that, a couple more USB-C charge ports. But other than that, there's not a lot going on. You don't have air vents. You don't have window shades, which, this is more of an entry-level vehicle. It doesn't bother me. What you do have is a dual-pane moonroof, and I like that. I like the fact that you can kind of control whether you want sun or not for the back seat. I don't have to depend on somebody up there to adjust the controls. Though I've heard a lot of criticisms of the steering wheel on the new Prius, it doesn't bother me, and in general, I really like the overall interior design. It's simple, it's clean, it's minimal, and it looks modern to me. And now I'm going to try and get my hands on a lower trim vehicle so we can see what the 8-inch infotainment screen looks like. Toyota did not have any base LE trims on hand, but I did manage to get my hands on an XLE model with the 8-inch screen. So you can see that this is smaller, but it has the same graphics. It's laid out similarly to the 12.3-inch screen, but it just, shrinks. But I don't know, this pops up a little bit over the dash, but overall I think it works with the design of the vehicle, and the shape matches the shape of the behind the wheel gauge screen. So I don't think this is a bad option. I think this is fine if you don't want to spend the extra money on the 12.3 inch screen. Because they have a previous gen Prius on hand, I figured I would just do a quick walk around so you can see the differences immediately. This has just a little bit more of a higher profile than the new generation, and when you walk around to the back, I think this is where you're going to see the biggest difference. You do have that split window in the rear, the taillights don't look as sleek, and just generally this is a less refined vehicle than the new model. And another big difference obviously is going to be right here in the front with the headlights and the nose. Popping inside really quick, you can also see a pretty big difference, and especially it starts right here with this center cluster. Instead of having anything behind the wheel, it's right here in the center. And this to me now just looks really dated after having been in the new generation all day long. So you have a lot more curves. It's I don't know, it's not as horizontal as the new generation, and you got a lot of glossy black stuff going on. You have your gear shift here instead of here, and it's blue. And I don't know, this just gives you a better look at what the differences are between the two vehicles. And I know a lot of people don't like the steering wheel on the new model, but I swear they took the steering wheel from the old model and they just maybe added some more buttons. And there you go. That is just a quick look at this old model to give you better perspective on the new one. All right, it is now time for me to talk about driving impressions. And Toyota did a really good thing for us here because they gave us the opportunity to drive both the new generation and the previous generation, so we could do a little bit of a back-to-back comparison. And I will say the 2023 model is a lot quieter. Even though the engine sound, it's got more of a higher pitch or a tone to it. So when you're doing hard acceleration, you have a little bit more of a higher buzzy sound, whereas the previous generation has a bit of a lower rumble. So it's more of a decibel issue than it is a sound issue, if that makes any kind of sense. But the hugest difference you're going to notice, I'm making that up, I know, but the biggest difference you're going to notice in terms of ride and handling is going to be the actual power. Because of that 60% increase in power, you have a decent get up and go, and I mean 194 horsepower in a vehicle of this size is really nice. Now I will say, for my Chicago aggressive driving, maybe wanted just a little bit more oomph, but this will get you where you need to be very quickly. So definitely pleased with that. I also am really enjoying the overall interior quietness. While a vehicle of this caliber can always use some extra NVH materials and some thicker glass, you know, I'm not gonna lie, this isn't a luxury vehicle, so it doesn't have your acoustic glass and all that kind of stuff. The difference in terms of road noise creeping into the cabin is very large. So this is much quieter than the previous generation. I have gotten some questions about that, and I will say tire noise, street noise, all of that creeping into the cabin, much less in this vehicle. So, all right, how do I feel about the 2023 Toyota Prius? I like it. You're not going to take it to a racetrack. You're not going to do 0 to 60 mile per hour tests in it, so don't ask. I'm not doing it. But it is plenty fast for highway merges, highway passing. I like passing a little bit better than I like merging. This is just a little bit slow for my Chicago tastes, but it does a really good job. So if anybody out there is a current Prius owner, you will be very pleased with this new generation. And if you are looking for a hybrid and you're not a Prius owner, I think this is a really good place to start. The switch between engine and EV modes is very imperceptible. It's very minimal. You can slightly hear the engine turn on, but it's not a which I absolutely appreciate. So Toyota has nailed it. Toyota has nailed this hybrid system, and this is a really nice model. You know, we're getting into some little twisty bits. We haven't done anything crazy, and there's very little body roll, and it just handles nice. It's good. This is a good car. And the fact that you can get this well equipped under $30,000, that gets a total thumbs up for me. Now, is there anything that I don't like about this vehicle? For me, in my driving position, I'm gonna say no. But I have heard from some of the taller drivers that they're having a really hard time with the steering wheel and it bisecting the gauges. So again, petite driving position, total thumbs up. I'm not having any problems, but some of the taller people have said something that it's not as comfortable or as ideal in terms of visibility for the behind the wheel gauges. If I had to pick out one thing that I do not like about the Toyota Prius, it's going to be the wireless charging. And that's kind of funny because Toyota made a big deal about this during the presentation, saying that they switched it up. It's, a vertical alignment. It's got little grippy things that'll hold your phone in to charge it. But here's the problem. Your phone overheats. Both my partner and I on this drive have had a problem with our phone getting really hot and going a little bit wonky because it is too warm in that charging pad. So the only automaker I found so far that does it right is General Motors, and that's a little bit weird because General Motors doesn't do a lot right. So that is what I want to say about my driving impressions. First driving impressions, first look impressions, overall pretty favorable. The wireless charging, that needs some help. All right, before I wrap this up, we do need to talk a little bit about pricing, because if you're familiar with the previous generation and you were looking at this model, you're probably thinking, that is a really stiff increase. But you need to keep in mind, they've done away with the base L trim. So now you're gonna walk into a Toyota Prius at the LE trim, and that is going to be a starting price of about $29,000, and that includes your destination fee. Now, as you walk up, so you've got the LE, the XLE, and the Limited, you're gonna top out at about $36,000. And frankly, I think that's a really good trim walk and a very nice spread. This is for the front-wheel drive models. If you would like to add all-wheel drive, you just add $1,400. And again, I think that is perfectly reasonable. So that is what I have for you on the 2023 Toyota Prius. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time with a new car du jour.